Liam Parker had just turned 18 a week ago. No party, no balloons, just a grocery store cake and a sticky note on the fridge reminding him to pay last month's electric bill. $42.13. Don't forget. Mom. In their house, it seemed like only his sister Olivia got to be called Mom and Dad's daughter. As for Liam, if he wasn't the guy bringing home the pizza every night, then he was just the one paying for the oxygen he was breathing. He worked at the local pizza shop, 3 nights a week, plus Saturdays. The pay wasn't great, but it was enough to cover the living expenses his mom, Karen, called a necessary part of learning to grow up. The irony? Olivia, who was 2 years older, had never been asked to pay for a single thing. She had her own room, an air purifier, and the kind of organic smoothie their mom made every morning. Strawberry chia almond. Just for Olivia. A sticky note already on the cup. Go ace that exam, baby girl, Mom. Liam didn't get a smoothie. He got a dry sandwich and a reminder. Did you remember to take out the trash today? In the living room, the walls were covered with pictures of Olivia. High school graduation, the talent show, debate competitions. Liam had exactly one photo. A picture of him with his grandfather, Jack Parker. Both wearing cowboy hats, standing in front of the old horse barn in Nebraska. The photo had been pushed off to the side. The light didn't quite reach it. Karen always said, "You should try to be more like Olivia. Look at how hard she works to better herself." But Liam knew the truth. Olivia didn't have to try. She just had to exist. He, on the other hand, had to pay rent just to be alive. Rick, his dad, was a man of few words, but every time he spoke, it came with judgment. You've got a job but nothing saved up? That's because you don't know how to plan. Olivia had a financial plan back in high school. Liam used to think if he tried harder, maybe his parents would notice. So he tried. He picked up extra shifts, bought SAT books with his own money, studied alone late at night while the house was asleep. He applied to a few community colleges, quietly, without telling anyone. He didn't wish for a birthday gift. He just wished someone would ask, "Hey, are you doing okay today?" But that never came. The only person who ever asked that question was his grandfather. Jack Parker wasn't the hugging type, and he didn't say sweet things. But he listened. When Liam visited the farm over summer break, his grandpa pointed to the old truck and said, "Keys are in it, figure it out." And when Liam tightened a bolt the wrong way, he didn't yell. He just said, "Look closer next time." Liam liked the way his grandfather lived. Clear, direct, nothing extra. The farm was over 3 hours outside of town, sitting in the middle of endless open fields. No Wi-Fi, no Netflix, just wind and the smell of dry hay. But there, Liam felt lighter. He didn't have to try so hard just to be seen. His favorite memory was one quiet evening, just the two of them eating grilled meat in near silence for half an hour. Then his grandfather finally spoke, his voice low and steady. "You're the only one in this family who looks people in the eye when you talk." Liam didn't answer. But something tugged at his chest, not painful, just quiet. That was the last time he saw his grandfather in person. After that summer, Olivia started applying to law schools on the East Coast. Everything in the house began to revolve around her. Finances, moving plans, supplies, even a diet menu tailored to her class schedule. Liam slowly faded to the edges, like a shadow retreating from the spotlight. But he was used to it. Until one Tuesday morning, in the middle of his shift at the pizza shop, Liam's phone buzzed. The screen lit up with a name he didn't see often. Grandpa Jack. He rinsed his hands, a little nervous. His grandfather almost never called. "You doing all right?" His voice was the same, slow and blunt. "Still surviving," Liam said with a small smile, wiping his hands on his apron. "Called your mom yesterday. She was busy, didn't pick up. Probably at some school meeting for Olivia." He went quiet for a few seconds. "Just wanted to ask you a few things." "Yeah? That old barn we fixed up last year? Still standing?" "Still good. I oiled the hinges this summer. Door doesn't stick anymore." "Good." He said it short, then added something, almost like a mutter. "You're the only one who looks people in the eye when you talk." Liam stood still in the middle of the kitchen, the receipt printer churning orders behind him. He didn't say anything, but something inside him got tapped, right where he thought he'd gone numb. Liam didn't say anything after the call with his grandfather. He just quietly finished his evening shift and went home, his mind drifting. That sentence, You're the only one who looks people in the eye when you talk, stayed with him, like something both warm and aching. But like always, he folded it up and tucked it into a quiet drawer in his mind. 3 days later, his phone buzzed just before midnight. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer, but something, instinct, maybe, made his thumb swipe to pick up. Is this Liam Parker? A woman's voice came through. I'm a nurse at Lincoln Regional Hospital. Your grandfather, Jack Parker, was just brought into the ER. Liam shot upright, forgetting he was still wearing his pizza shop uniform. He started firing questions. What happened? How bad was it? Was anyone with him? The answer came simple and sharp. No. A neighbor called the ambulance. He came in alone. No one else. Not Rick, not Karen, not Olivia. What had his mom said earlier that day? Tonight I'm busy with Olivia's graduation party. The whole family's going over to Aunt Mary's. Don't bother us, okay? He didn't text her. He didn't call anyone. He just threw on a jacket, grabbed his keys, and ran out into the night. The hospital was over an hour's drive. By the time he got there, his grandfather was already in the ICU. A tangle of wires snaked into his frail body, his eyes closed tight. The heart monitor beeped steadily, but no one could say for sure what would happen next. For the next 3 days, Liam stayed by himself. He sat in a plastic chair, drank coffee from an old vending machine, and ate pre-packaged sandwiches. Every time the nurses changed shifts, they asked, "Are your parents coming?" Liam just shook his head. They didn't come. They didn't text. They didn't call. They didn't ask. The first day, he still hoped for a message from his mom. "Where are you?" But it never came. By the second day, he started getting used to the silence. By the third, he stopped waiting. On the afternoon of the fourth day, his grandfather passed away. No chaos, no panic. He just stopped, as if he had made up his mind and let go. Liam sat there, holding his grandfather's hand until the nurse gently removed it. The funeral was held 2 days later. Rick and Karen showed up, dressed neatly. Olivia made it back just in time from a flight out of Boston. A very important campus visit, as her mother had put it. They arrived on schedule, stood in the right spots, bowed their heads at the right moments. Then they left after the service, like checking off a meeting on a calendar. No one mentioned the inheritance. No one asked where Liam had been for the past 3 days. Olivia glanced at him once, then quickly looked down to send a text. Liam didn't go home. After the funeral, he took 3 days off work and caught a bus back to Nebraska. No calls, no permission. He just went. The farm was quiet, no voices, no smell of cooking smoke. Liam pushed open the heavy wooden door and stepped into the familiar space. The rocking chair, the jar of dried flowers, the fridge with just 2 cans of soda. The scent of dust and old hay lingered. But somehow, he could breathe easier here. No need to tiptoe, no need to hold his breath when closing a door. He spent the whole afternoon cleaning, wiped down the wooden table, folded the shirts his grandfather had left hanging, took the old coats to be washed. By nightfall, he lay down on the sofa and fell asleep without a pillow. A deep sleep, like his body finally realized it was allowed to let go here. The next morning, he woke just as the sun rose, poured himself coffee from the old pot in the kitchen, and stepped out onto the porch. The wind was cold. The wild grass reached up to his knees. He looked around and thought to himself, "At least here, I don't need permission to breathe." As he stepped down off the porch, his eyes froze. Something didn't feel right. By the old rotting fence stood a sign, white background, red letters, new, no dust, no fading. Land for sale. Contact R. Parker, 402XXXXX. He stood there for a long time. The wind blew, making the sign sway gently. He didn't pick up his phone, didn't call, didn't text anyone. He just turned back into the house, closed the door, and for the first time in his life felt cold in an entirely different way. He didn't react right away. The land for sale sign stood there like a slap to the face, but Liam didn't flinch. It was just cold, like stepping outside in the dead of winter without a coat. But the cold wasn't in the air, it came from somewhere deeper. The number on the sign belonged to Rick. He didn't need to check his contacts. He knew. He memorized it, every digit, the way someone memorizes the license plate of a hit and run. The next morning, he called home. His mom answered after 2 rings. "Did you put up the for sale sign at the farm?" His voice was calm, flat. "Yeah, your dad did," she replied, like she was talking about an old microwave that needed to be thrown out. It's just there for now. Nothing's sold yet. That land's just sitting empty anyway. Did Grandpa not leave a will? That's not something we should get into right now, honey. I'm in a meeting with Olivia's advisor. We'll talk next week when you come home, okay? The call ended as quickly as it started. No questions like "Where are you?" No concern. No hesitation when she called the land empty. Liam didn't say anything else, but in his mind something cracked open, like standing in front of a wall painted over with family, only to suddenly see the paint peeling, revealing the rotting bricks underneath. That night, he drove home. No warning. He told himself it was just to grab a few things, but really he needed to see it with his own eyes. The house was the same, tidy, clean, cold. Olivia wasn't home. His parents were sitting in the kitchen, hunched over a laptop. They didn't hear him come in. Liam stopped in the hallway, just behind the wall. His handwriting got shaky when he got older. Rick said, pointing at the screen, "But if it's crooked like this, think we can fake it?" Karen flipped back a page. "As long as no one digs into it." And Liam, he doesn't know anything. Liam turned and walked away without a sound. His heart didn't race. He didn't panic. Everything inside him felt frozen solid. He waited until the next morning, when they went out. Then he went into Rick's office. The room smelled like floor polish and old cigarettes. The file cabinet was lazily locked. He opened the third drawer, the one Rick always used for financial papers. The folder was labeled Estate, Parker Ranch. Inside was a photocopy of a deed transfer, the signature at the bottom, Jack Parker. Familiar, and yet not. Liam sat down on the floor, pulled a birthday card from his backpack, one his grandfather had sent him the year before. There weren't many words, just one sentence. "Happy 17th, kid. Don't be afraid to call bullshit. Grandpa Jack." The J in Jack was heavy, rounded deep with pressure. But in the deed, the J was weightless, light, almost drawn. The connecting strokes were wrong too. Stiff, clean, not shaky, not slanted like when his grandfather's hand got tired. He knew Jack could still write, but when his hand got weak, the letters would dip, drift sideways. This didn't. There was no way to prove it with certainty. But he knew. If he stayed silent, no one would remember Jack Parker ever lived on that land. They'd sell it. Olivia would use the money for law school. Rick would trade up for a new car. Karen might finally book that Napa Valley trip she always dreamed of. And Jack would disappear. No marker, no little wooden sign by the gate, no one left to say his name except Liam. He sat there for a few more minutes. Then, carefully, he put the documents back, aligned every page just right, slipped the photocopy into an old paperback, returned it to the same drawer, closed it, turned the lock. That night, back at the ranch, he turned on the desk lamp, pulled out his old laptop, typed into the search bar, "Nebraska Estate Fraud Attorney." Then he opened his email. To Mr. Harris, attorney at law, subject, urgent, regarding Jack Parker's property. "My name is Liam Parker, Jack's grandson. I believe you were someone he trusted. I have a few documents I need you to take a look at. They're related to the property deed. I think something isn't right." Attachment, photo of the signed deed, photo of the birthday card. He hit send. No emotion, no trembling hands, just a boy doing the one thing left he could do, to hold on to the only person who had ever seen him as real. "Mr. Harris replied within a few hours. "Liam, you did the right thing by reaching out. I know Jack's signature. I've handled his paperwork for nearly 20 years. This isn't his. I'll be filing a request to freeze any transaction involving the property. Don't worry, I'll go through proper legal channels. But your parents might get upset. Be ready for that." Liam read the email 3 times, not because he didn't understand it, but because no one had ever told him, "You did the right thing." 3 days later, the court issued a notice. All transactions involving Parker Ranch were to be temporarily suspended, pending verification of the signature's authenticity and rightful ownership. The notice was sent directly to his parents' house. When Liam got there, the air inside felt heavy, like a storm about to break. Olivia sat on the couch, her face blank, phone in hand but not scrolling. Karen came out of the kitchen, hair messy, face flushed. Rick stood by the window, arms crossed. "What the hell did you do?" Karen's voice was sharp, like metal against stone. Liam didn't answer. "You filed to block the land sale? The family's land?" Karen was shouting now. "Why would you do this to your own family?" Liam looked her straight in the eye. His reply came out clean, steady, unshaken. I didn't do anything to this family. I just didn't let anyone do anything to him. Rick took a step forward, his jaw twitching. You're sabotaging your sister's future. Olivia needs that money for school. I planned this all out to give her a shot. And what did you do? Stand on the sidelines and stab us in the back? Liam didn't move. Olivia still hadn't said a word. She just glanced at him, like he'd scuffed the hem of her perfect dress. Karen let out a sharp, bitter laugh. Fine. If you want to pick a side, then from now on, we're not tied to each other anymore. Your stuff's in your old room. Move out whenever you feel like it. Liam nodded. No argument, no apology. He went upstairs to the room that used to be his, now stripped bare like a rental. There was still an electric bill on the desk. This time, no smiley face. He didn't have much. One backpack, one pillow, a few t-shirts folded in a cloth bag. He took out his phone and texted Mr. Harris, I'm moving back to the ranch. I need to be close to where he belonged. No one came upstairs to say goodbye. No one asked where he was going, how he'd get there, or how he'd live. No one called afterward either. Liam pulled the door shut behind him and walked out of the house without looking back. The bus pulled out of the station at 4:15 p.m. Liam sat in the very last row, backpack hugged to his chest, pillow tucked under his arm. Outside the window, the town drifted past like scenes from an old film, slow and quiet. As the bus turned onto the highway heading toward Nebraska, a thought hit him. I wasn't kicked out. I walked away. And this time, no one could tell him he didn't belong where he chose to be. Liam stepped off the bus with his backpack slung over one shoulder and the pillow wedged under his arm. It was almost dark. The whole town felt like it had gone to sleep early, wrapped in silence. Only the sound of his footsteps broke through, steady against the dirt and gravel path that led back to the ranch. No one was waiting for him, and no one called to ask where he was. The wooden door to his grandfather's house was just as he'd left it, heavy, creaking, cold to the touch. Inside, nothing had changed, except for a thin layer of dust, just enough to catch the shape of his footprints on the floor. Liam slid the bolt shut behind him, dropped his backpack onto the worn-out sofa, and sank to the ground. No one asked what he wanted for dinner. No one told him to wash the dishes, and there wasn't a single sticky note on the fridge reminding him to pay the electric bill. The next morning he woke early, out of habit. Brewed coffee in the old chipped glass pot, grabbed a bucket and walked the property, checking pipes, worn paths, the stable doors. The north fence had long since been broken by the wind. He picked up a hammer, a handful of nails, and started repairing the wooden planks one by one. Each day passed with a quiet, steady rhythm. In the mornings, Liam mowed the grass, swept the yard, replaced light bulbs. In the afternoons, he cooked simple meals, hand-washed his clothes, and wrote notes in the old notebook his grandfather had kept next to the radio. Windy today. Porch wiring's loose. Remember to wedge a brick in the kitchen window when the storm rolls in. He went to bed early, usually before 9, because there was nothing keeping him up. The sound of wind slipping through the wooden door filled the room like a whisper. His pillow was the one he brought from the house. His blanket, thick, worn, and heavy with the scent of rotting wood and peppermint, was the one his grandfather had left behind. No one called him a burden. No one counted every dollar. No one asked, "Why can't you be more like your sister?" And no shadow hovered behind him to check if he washed the dishes well enough. 5 days later, a car pulled up in front of the yard. Mr. Harris stepped out, carrying a leather briefcase and a paper bag with muffins. He knocked on the door like he was knocking on the home of a grown man, not a boy who had just walked out on his family. "Figured you could use a better breakfast than instant noodles," he said, setting the bag down on the kitchen table. "And I've got news." Liam sat down, hands still dirty with soil. "The signature's completely fake," Mr. Harris said. "Not just the pen strokes, the date formatting's wrong too. Jack always wrote sept instead of 09. Those copies you sent? All dated like office memos, 09/14/23. That's not how he wrote. I've got dozens of documents with Jack's handwriting through the years. You line them up, it's obvious." He pulled a copy of the file from his briefcase and slid it across the table toward Liam. "The court's opening a formal investigation. It may take a while, but for now, that land's not going anywhere." Liam stared at the paper, but he didn't really read it. Mr. Harris stayed quiet for a moment, then spoke, slow and steady. "You saved a man's whole life just by not looking away." Liam didn't respond, but something inside him loosened. A breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding finally slipped out. That night, he carried a small candle out to the barn. He set it on a wooden shelf near the wall, then opened an old tin box hidden in the corner, photos his grandfather had kept tucked away. Jack on horseback, a winter day in 1986, a picture of his wife still alive. Liam sat back against the wall, the candlelight flickering across his face. "I haven't done anything big yet," he whispered. "But at least you're still here." There was no reply, just the soft sound of hooves shifting in the next stall. Wind slipped through the cracks in the wall like a long, tired breath. The next morning, Liam woke earlier than usual. When he checked his phone, there was a new email from his mother. Subject: "Let's talk, Liam. We need to meet and talk properly. No arguing. Your dad, Olivia, and I all want to clear the air. Can we arrange something?" Liam read the message. He didn't delete it. He didn't reply. He just set the phone down on the table, walked out into the yard, and got back to fixing the clogged water line behind the house. He didn't respond to the email for 3 days. During those 3 days, his mother sent 2 more messages. One was a photo of Olivia crying, captioned, "She's heartbroken over this." The other was a voice message from his father. His voice was low, no longer angry. "We can work this out, Liam. No one wants to lose you." But Liam didn't feel lost, and he didn't feel like anything was being worked out. For the first time, they were calling him son because they needed him, not because they chose to. And that, exactly that, was why he decided to show up. The meeting was scheduled at Mr. Harris's office, a quiet place with old oak-paneled walls, shelves stuffed with papers, and a wall clock that clicked sharply every 30 minutes. Liam arrived early. Mr. Harris made him a cup of ginger tea. "Drink it to stay sharp," he said. "Don't let tears be the thing that breaks your judgment." At exactly 10 a.m., the door swung open. Rick entered first, shoulders tense, tie slightly crooked. Karen followed, gripping her purse like it might slip away. Olivia came in last, her face puffy, eyes red, but no tears. They sat across from Liam. No one spoke for the first 5 seconds. Then his mother broke the silence, her voice trembling slightly. "I just wanted to keep the property in the family." Liam didn't react. "Your grandfather, he was old, Liam. Not fully clear-headed. I just wanted to make sure everything was taken care of." Mr. Harris looked up from the stack of papers in front of him. "Are you saying Jack Parker was not of sound mind when he signed the documents you and your husband submitted?" Karen fell silent. Rick straightened in his seat, doing his best to appear composed. "That's not what I meant," Karen said quickly, turning to Liam. "I know I was wrong not to tell you, but you have to understand everything I did was for Olivia. Her future." Liam cut in, not loud, not angry, just one sentence. "Grandpa chose who he wanted." The air tightened instantly. Rick shifted in his seat. Karen broke into tears. Olivia looked directly at Liam, eyes welling. For the first time she spoke. "Do you really want to destroy my entire future?" Liam looked back at her, not with contempt, not with coldness, just an empty gaze, like he was looking at someone he'd never met. Mr. Harris set a folder down on the table. "We've submitted all evidence of signature forgery," Mr. Harris said evenly. "The original handwriting samples from Mr. Jack, historical documents for comparison, and an official statement from a handwriting expert." He turned to Rick. "If you or your wife make any further attempts to sell the property or exert pressure on Liam Parker, I will file a motion to escalate this case to criminal prosecution." Karen slumped back in her chair, hands trembling. Rick kept his poker face, but sweat began to bead on his forehead. Olivia sat still. Tears slid down her cheeks, but no one reached to wipe them away. No one said anything else. Liam stood, gave Mr. Harris a small nod. "Thank you, sir." On the way back, Liam didn't play any music. He didn't call anyone. He just rolled down the window and let the wind hit his face, like it could scrape off whatever trace of that meeting still clung to him. By the time his car turned onto the dirt road leading to the ranch, the sun was high overhead. The grass on either side had grown up to his knees. He stopped the car at the gate, stepped out, and slowly opened the old wooden latch. The ranch was quiet, as if chaos had never touched it. The wind still whispered through the tin roof. The metal in the barn still groaned with age, and the feeling was still the same. This is home. Liam took off his shoes at the porch, walked barefoot into the house. He opened the windows, letting sunlight spill through the trees, casting soft streaks of fire across the wooden floor. Then he stepped back outside. Stood in the middle of the yard, hands in his pockets, gazing out toward the distant elm trees bowing gently in the early summer wind. He didn't smile. He didn't cry. He just stood there, still. It felt like he was out there somewhere, leaning on the fence, coffee in hand, giving a quiet nod. No praise, no encouragement, just there. Liam exhaled softly, as if, after everything, he could finally breathe in without being charged for the air. I'm not better than them. I'm just the only one who didn't pretend. Some families don't need shouting to hurt you. Just years of quiet favoritism, selective silence, and a little bit of well-packaged lying, wrapped in something they like to call the future. Liam didn't win because he was stronger. He was simply the only one willing to stand still, to observe, and to stop pretending everything was fine. Sometimes, justice doesn't come from big, bold actions. It comes from holding your ground. A piece of land, a signature, a promise no one else bothered to keep. Because some things, if you don't protect them, no one will. And what about you? Would you stay silent to keep the peace? Or would you speak up when someone you love is being erased from memory? Have you ever been in a family where the silence hurt more than the words? Share your thoughts in the comments. I truly want to hear your story. And if stories like this speak to something in you, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next journey. Family drama will keep telling truths. Quietly, but just enough to make you rethink the things you always thought were small. Thank you for listening all the way through.